Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and this review is once again going to be all elite. We're headed back to the ring for another Gallery Diorama statue review courtesy of Diamond Select, and today we're taking a look at the second statue in their AEW Gallery Diorama series. And that piece is none other than this right here. Today we're taking a look at CM Punk's Gallery Diorama piece. Now, previously on this channel, we took a look at the very first debut piece for AEW's series of statues from Diamond, and that was of Jon Moxley, and I really liked it. I had some concerns about it, but they were all taken care of, and I really enjoyed the piece, and I'm hoping you guys did too. Now, as for CM Punk here, well, there's a little fun story about this guy, and originally, Punk was not supposed to be part of this original wave. The AEW Gallery Diorama series were announced quite some time ago, and back when they were announced, well, Punk wasn't actually even in the company yet. And the intended plan was for Cody Rhodes to be part of the series. But unfortunately, he left and went back to WWE, and well, they had to rush things around, but lo and behold, instead, we got ourselves CM Punk. Whether or not that was a fair trade-off, of course, is for you fans to decide, and CM Punk is a very controversial figure in AEW, and he always will be in pro wrestling in general. But Diamond was very smart to rush this guy to the finish line, and they chose a pretty cool pose for this guy, but we'll get to that in a second. First, I want to just talk to you guys about this piece and about the box he's in. So, for you wrestling collectors who are not too familiar with Diamond Select, all of their PVC Gallery Diorama pieces are in this type of box. And what's really cool about them is they let you see really everything inside here. So, from the front, we have a great big window that lets you see right into there. We've also got windows on each side of the box, as well as their signature Diamond Select sunroof. So you're really getting a great way to look into this thing from nearly 360 degrees. The box design itself is not the most interesting, and normally they're not. They really want to make sure that the focal point is of the statue itself and not the packaging here. But in case you're wondering, yeah, it's just got this great big AEW logo on the front, which is also on the sides. And it's really just basically black with a little bit of texture to it. It's not the most exciting. It's a very flat looking box, but it is what it is. The back of the box is at least a little bit more visually exciting though, because we have an image of the statue itself now on display, along with a little bit of text about it. So we have a statistics window, which is really cool and very different, and also unique to the AEW line. No other Diamond Select statues include statistics like this out there, so that's kind of a fun little thing. And those stats include things like his height and weight, his hometown, and his finisher. We also get just a little bit of information about what this piece is and what the deal is with it. But most importantly about this packaging here is we get credits. We get the names of the folks who worked on this piece here, and that's something that's also pretty unique to Diamond. And all the credit for this CM Punk belongs to designs by Gabriel Casada and sculpting by Olaf Hartvigsson. Now, as far as my knowledge goes, the AEW line is the first ones that either of these two artists have worked together on for Diamond, and they did a pretty great job with Jon Moxley, so I'm definitely pretty hyped now to see what they're going to do with a guy like CM Punk. So let's go ahead and get our Punk out of the box and take a closer look at him from all angles, and if I say anything wrong, you guys can tell me when I'm lying. Alright, and here is our CM Punk statue in the ring right now. Let's give this guy a quick rotation just to give you that full 360 degrees of Punk. And as far as statues go, I mean, this looks really good. They made some really fun choices here. A lot of great fan service, and I say that in the best way possible. This is the kind of stuff you want to see. This is the kind of stuff you worry about when a company who hasn't really done wrestling before steps into the ring, pun intended, and tries to do something. You kind of are concerned that maybe they won't get things right, they'll be missing some key elements that are kind of integral to the character, but no, very much so the opposite here. I think they really got a lot of the very important details about CM Punk correct, and this looks really good here. So I want to start with how I always start any statue review and any toy review that we do here on the channel. Let's talk about the likeness first. So let's just go ahead and get a closer look at our CM Punk here, and let's ask the question, does this look like CM Punk? And I would have to say yes. Now, just like with Moxley, I wouldn't call this a perfect 10 of a head sculpt. And keep in mind, this is a sculpt. This is not like a scam. This isn't like, let's say, an action figure from Jazzwares or WWE figure from Mattel, where they scan the heads in. This is someone sculpting it. Now, whether that means it's a 3D sculpt or a hand sculpt doesn't really make a difference. But the fact is, somebody is sculpting this from scratch and not working off of a scan. So when you consider that in mind, there's always going to be little human imperfections that you won't quite get, an exact one-to-one ratio of likeness, but that's fine, because sometimes even scans get things wrong because, well, a lot of people have idealized versions of somebody in their mind, but that's really a whole other story. As far as this Punk goes, though, I think the sculpting is very good. I think they got the nose, they got the mouth, they got his brow, they especially got his hair. All around, this definitely looks to me like CM Punk. I think the one thing that could throw things off a little bit might be the eyes themselves, but it's hard because, you know, he is an older version of CM Punk. They're taking a very specific moment here, so that might also be kind of influencing the photo reference that they worked from. I think it looks good. I think what kind of maybe knocks it down 2 or 3 notes for me, instead of being a perfect 10, is actually the paint job on the CM Punk. And what I mean by that is it's kind of clumpy, and that's a little bit indicative of how Diamond Select kind of paints a lot of these PVC statues in the first place. When you look at Moxley, you'll see the same thing. If you look at my other reviews of some actual people, like I think most recently I did Jean-Claude Van Damme's Bloodsport statue that Diamond Select did. Also a PVC piece. And since this isn't a resin piece, they're not going to exactly put the same amount of detail into the paint job as you're going to get with something like what you'd get with the Doctor Strange Legends in 3D busts I'm going to be looking at soon. And so what tends to happen is the paint jobs are still good, they're just not nearly as refined as a more expensive statue. And, there's not really much paint slopping, but you can see it in, like, the forehead, especially, like, it is kind of, it's not really clumpy, but it does feel a little thick. And I think that's the issue, is that the paint job is a little bit thicker and really lacks tone, actually. That's really what I think it comes down to also. It doesn't really have much nuance to it. It's just flat shades of color. So that kind of makes it look a little bit more thick than it should be. And when you got thick paints, that can really destroy a sculpt. Case in point, any single time I review a Jazzwares AEW figure, because I think those things have good sculpts, but god-awful paint jobs that make everybody think that their head sculpts look like trash. This CM Punk doesn't have that problem. It's definitely not trash. I think just a thinner paint would have been better to help really show more of the details, because they definitely have it here. I think they really do have it with, you can even see in his nose, it's got some nice detail in there. The cheek structure is here. I think they got it. I think just the paint was a little too thick. I do appreciate, though, the paint job on the beard, because that does have some nice subtlety in there. It does have a few different tones, including some white, because, again, this is an older version of CM Punk, so he's going to have a little more white hair and his grizzled beard. His hair is kind of slicked back and shorter than what we remember it from. It's a little bit thinner than what we remember seeing back in the day when CM Punk was in the other company. But I think, overall, it's a very good head sculpt. I just wish the paint job was a little bit less, but that is what you get when you talk about PVC pieces. They are meant to be more affordable, and that's one of the things that you kind of lose out on, is having like multiple tones in the face and washing in the face, things like that would help it pop a little bit more. But I still think it's really good here. And let's go ahead now and move down to the body, because I think this is where the piece really excels. Because keep in mind, if you have a statue like this, you're not going to be sticking your face, right up in it to just look at it. You're going to be looking at this guy from a distance and taking in the whole piece. And that's where this is just great. So I believe this statue represents when CM Punk was feuding with MJF. And this was his promo where he went in the ring, sat down, brought out a box with him, and revealed that he wanted to have a dog collar match. And we know that because the dog collar is right next to his foot there. So that's what's kind of giving that away. And yeah, this is really cool because everybody always enjoys seeing a CM Punk promo where he sits down like this, crisscross applesauce, and delivers some hard truths. And to me, this is a very iconic pose that also lends itself to the other company, because we all remember when the last time Punk sat down like that in a WWE ring, fireworks went off, or perhaps other types of explosives. But this is really nice to see that remembered in this way, and this makes it kind of a universally appealing piece. There's a lot of folks out there who might not care too much about AEW, but they want to support CM Punk, or whatever. So, with this pose here, it's kind of like whatever you want it to be, really, and that's what's great about it. I really enjoy the work and the detail on the hands as well, and especially the microphone here. Well, first off, the hands, I love how they have the textured hand wrap. He's got the X on the front of his hands. He has the drug-free on his fingers, and I also really like the way that he's holding the microphone here too. It feels very real. He's not gripping it really hard. He's gripping it the way he grips it. It's kind of realistic. It's kind of nice to see him holding it like that. I like the posture. I like how the legs are. It's a very simple thing. But the one thing I'll say about this kind of a pose is because of the way it is, it does kind of like tend to shrink somebody down. You can see the triangle shape that we're forming here. It does kind of make it a little more difficult to work with, I feel like, as a piece of art. But when you look at it then from this side, you see what they did to kind of capture your eyes back into the piece here. And there still is that triangle of art, because you have the knee pads that mimic the shape of the head. They keep you in the piece. They keep you very much centered. And especially the fact that this piece is, like, really for the most part black and white and a lot of stark contrasts here. The microphone actually is what kind of centers you and leads you back up to the face and back around the whole piece here. So, while I was worried he was going to look kind of tiny, he doesn't. He actually doesn't. It's still a very, very strongly designed piece. And in case you're wondering, by the way, he does actually scale up pretty much perfectly, I think, with the Jon Moxley piece. So I'm thinking all these AEW statues are going to be sized up next to each other pretty much the same way. Like, obviously, they are all going to have different heights, but they will, I think, for the most part, and again, we haven't seen the other 3 yet in person, but I think they're all going to be in a similar enough scale that it's going to be pretty cool to have all these guys together in one spot. Some of the other cool stuff to talk about here is the attention to detail with their tattoos and with the AEW logo. You can see his classic CM Punk Best in the World t-shirt, which is really nice as well. You've got all the classic trimmings, but yeah, the tattoos really stand out on his arms, and there's a ton of them here. I really enjoy the detail work that are on his wrestling shoes and his kick pads. Those look really nice as well. I mean, even the knee pads have like good texture detail. They're not just like one blob of clay. It's actually got some stuff going on there, which is very, very nice. And that's one of the kind of things I was hoping to see with these pieces here, is giving some more detail and some more texture to those elements. Now, what's also kind of cool is the ring scattered around CM Punk is littered with thumbtacks. Now, I don't think there were any thumbtacks that night, but I could be wrong. It's AEW, you never know. But I like how they're including little elements like that add more to the story of what AEW is all about, because it is a very, very different organization, let's say. But it's nice to see thumbtacks in a statue, right? I mean, I don't know how many other wrestling statues we're going to get with thumbtacks. I mean, maybe one day Diamond Select can do WWE and we'll get a Foley covered in those. But hey, for now, it's still pretty cool to see thumbtacks in a statue. I also want to talk about the base here, which is just very simple. It's basically a chunk of the ring. You guys can see that here. It's a literal chunk of the ring. It's got an AEW banner on the front, and that kind of loops around to all the other sides, including one side where it's actually partially open, as if someone's like grabbing it to open it and pull things out from underneath it. But what I really like about it is just that it has all these really nice, realistic folds in the fabric that's around the ring. And it helps it kind of really balance light better, create some really cool shadows. And frankly, I'm just glad it's not a straight up cube. If it was just like a square with no other detail on it, I'd be pretty annoyed. But I like that this has all the whole ring canvas looking on. However, I do want to say that while it is great that we have this canvas on all 4 sides, part of me kind of wishes that we didn't. Part of me kind of wishes we had like one side that was completely flat, so that maybe, and just maybe, if they made more in this style, like with this sort of chunk of the ring cut out in a perfect square, that we could have connected them. I think that would have been really cool and a really smart choice to do something like that, because then you could have other statues in a similar size and just put them all together. That would have been really, really cool. And especially while you have CM Punk delivering this promo, I mean, can you imagine just like having him over here and then connecting him to another wrestler? It doesn't matter who, just, basically filling out your own actual AEW ring with all these statues. I think that would have been such a really cool idea. I don't think we're going to get that, but I mean, let's see. We'll see how those statues come along. Maybe this could be something for the future that Diamond Select considers. Now, that's basically the statue as a whole, but believe it or not, this statue actually has accessories, which I've never said before in a statue review. So this is another really fun piece here. So our CM Punk has not 1, but 2 additional accessories for a statue, which is really unheard of. He's got 2 steel chairs. CM Punk has 2 steel chairs that are not attached to the piece. They are just there. And I wish that they were advertising these chairs a little bit more, because they're really, really nice. So I'm going to move Punk out of the way for a second, just so I can give you guys a better look at the chairs. Because, yeah, I didn't know that these were coming with the piece here, so I was pretty shocked to see them. But they're very nice chairs. So I'm going to say, number 1, they do not fold, unfortunately. The way they are built here, they do not fold, but at least they give the illusion of folding. And frankly, I think that's why they gave you the 2 chairs anyway, because now you've got one that is folded, and you've got one here. This is the folded one in my hand. You've got one over here that is open, ready for someone to sit on, or whatever you're going to do with it. So what you do with these chairs is really up to you. This is kind of where you get to customize the display, and that's kind of unusual in statues. Normally, you don't get things like this. So I like that there's hardcore plunder, and they're very nicely done chairs. I mean, to be honest, I wish these did fold, and I wish they were smaller, because Jazzwares, your chairs kind of aren't that good for the wrestling toys. I don't like them that much. They break easily. They're kind of flimsy. These are solid. These are really nice chairs. I'd be very happy if Jazzwares was just like, hey, Diamond, how'd you do that? And can we license this from you? So, yeah, the chairs are really nice. Surprising little touch, but it's nice because what you can do with them is really customize your display. So you can pop one over here. You can put them in the front, whatever you want to do. Or you can even hide some in the back of the ring over here where you have this, again, this nice little section over here. You can just pop that out like right there. And now you've got a chair coming out underneath the ring. I think that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So that's what I would probably do, is just kind of stick them around CM Punk like this. And yeah, just find yourself a new home for all these little pieces here, because that really adds a lot to the story of this statue. And it's really rare you get to do something like this, where you get to customize your piece, but there you go. So that's my look at the AEW Diamond Select Gallery Diorama statue of CM Punk. I think it's really, really good. And, even though I said the likeness is not like a perfect 10, it's, still, I would say, on par with what Jazzwares is doing. Not an insult to Jazzwares either this time around. This is actually a legit compliment. I think it's a very good head sculpt. It's got a lot of nice detail in it, a great story for the piece. And I think those are reasons enough to pick this up. And another big reason I'd say too is for a lot of wrestling collectors, your collections tend to just be either 8x10 photos or paper things or action figures. There's not a ton of variety, and especially not a ton of things that will elevate your collection. And I think having statues like this is what helps elevate a collection from just being a bunch of figures into something a little bit deeper. So I really like it for that reason. And best of all, this piece here is, I believe it's going for $60 right now. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 50 to 60 range. And that's, if you're new to statues, that might sound like a lot, but it is not. It's very much on the cheaper end of a statue like this. And this statue is like, I think 8 or 10 inches tall, I believe too. So it's a big piece, a heavy piece as well. So it's going to be a little more on the pricey side than what you're used to paying for. It's more than an Ultimate Edition. It's more than a Supreme figure, but it's definitely worth it. So whether you're a CM Punk fan, an AEW fan, or just a wrestling historian or a wrestling lover, I think you got to get these AEW statues, and I think you have to have CM Punk. I think this is the must-have right now. Now, if you want to pick up this Punk for yourself, I'm going to have affiliate links in the description for this video below, so please click that link down there, check them out, and if you pick up anything using those links, it helps support this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. Now, in case you're wondering, this AEW line from Diamond Select will continue. We now know at San Diego Comic-Con, Diamond Select announced 3 more pieces. We are getting Chris Jericho with a championship belt. We are getting Bryan Danielson, who's going to be hanging out on the turnbuckles. And we are getting the man called Sting. That's going to be a really cool piece. I'm really excited for that one. So this line has got some legs. They're going to be going around for a little while doing them, and I cannot wait to see who's coming next, and I can't wait to get them in my hands to show them to you. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later with more toy reviews, figure unboxings, and everything else we do here on this channel.